I just wanted to get online today because I saw some slides on a great event, but the slides of the speakers were very, very distracting. And I feel like a lot of people still don't know how to use slide decks to actually illustrate their presentations and help the audience. Most of the time, they actually distract. So I just wanted to show you a couple of tricks so that you can take your PowerPoint or Keynote to the next level. So I've prepared this little slide deck for you. Okay, sharing my screen. I'm doing this very simply just in Zoom. So here we have a typical introduction slide. No problems with that. You know what the topic is, and you see my logo there. Now, in a lot of events, you will need to include either the organizer's logo and or your institution's logo or your organization. So there are different ways you can do that. Most important is to follow the guidelines that you've been given in terms of the logos, colors, etc., and keep it simple. So this is a typical slide that I see all the time. Now, what this does is basically dump some text into the default of PowerPoint, which is bullet points. So this is actually taken from my blog about not giving the power to the PowerPoint. And here I've simply dumped the information in here. And as I'm speaking, I doubt that you're able actually to read those points. And then a typical speaker would happily read through those points or talk about something actually different from what's on the slide, and the audience is not able to read and listen at the same time. That's right, we're not that smart. We're not able to listen to someone speaking and concentrate on what they're saying and read at the same time. So to give another example, here is another slide about how to use images. And again, I've just dumped the text directly from my blog. Automatically, PowerPoint puts it into bullet points. Now, again, you're probably not reading what I wrote here about the use of images in your PowerPoint, and you're listening to me instead, or vice versa. So how can we make this better? Well, one way is practicing what we preach and simply using a picture. And here you can actually use the text as your script. So as the audience are looking at this beautiful picture and a nice quote by Horace, a picture is a poem without words, you can talk about how humans by nature are visual creatures. You've probably heard the saying, a picture paints 1,000 words. Use images rather than words whenever possible, etc. You see, so there you are listening to me and you have a visual clue that is actually complementing what I am saying. Another example. So again, this is taken directly from my blog. One of my tips is to keep it simple. And there's a whole lot of text here, including some specific recommendations. Again, you're probably not reading what I wrote. You're probably listening to me, or you're reading and not listening to me. And I personally find that really challenging to choose what I'm concentrating on. So how can we make this better? Well, I wanted to do this live with you. The first thing is to pull out the most salient, important points. You can use this text, the actual text, as your script. However, to illustrate what you're saying, rather than distract the audience, you can pull out the main points like I have here. So these are my actual recommendations. So you would start the slide by saying PowerPoint and Keynote have many options for how you present your information, including animations, transitions, and fonts, etc., etc., and you read the script. And on the slide, you just have your main recommendations. Now, again, here I have put the 4 points, and there are more than that actually I could have put on here, the 4 main points on the slide, so you have less things to look at. Automatically in PowerPoint, bullet points are used. So I'm going to quickly remove that because this is better than the previous slide, but it could be even better. more visually appealing, more helpful for your audience. So how do we do that? Let's remove the bullet points to start with. Select all of them, and maybe we could make them more interesting looking, so to stand out more. One way would be to fill them with a color. So I've got my key colors here, and obviously you see one of the recommendations is to use darker text on a lighter background. For blue, the white actually sticks out nicer. So here you can't see the black, so one of the things we could do is actually change the color of the font to be white. One of the recommendations is not to center the actual words, so in fact we're going to keep them to the left here. We're going to make them a little bit smaller, maybe center them, and that's already much easier to read, much clearer. You can use transitions if you want, make it a little bit bigger so people don't have to strain to read it, and you could use transitions to introduce each of these points. So that they're not all seen at the same time. And with the transitions, you can transition out of the first point as you're talking about the second point, so people focus on each of these. Now the next step, which I haven't actually prepared on the PowerPoint, but would be to have one slide for each of those points. So to illustrate, keeping it simple, you would say, for example, have only a maximum of 3 fonts, and they should be sans serif fonts. And you would have just one slide on that. When you're ready for your next point, you can illustrate the maximum 3 colors. So I think you'll agree, even with those really, really quick and easy changes, we go from a whole lot of text that no one can read and to something which is more palatable, easier to focus on, and actually complements what the speaker is saying rather than distracting it. So that's just a very, very quick, very simple illustration of a few things that you can do to move your very text-heavy slides to something which is not going to confuse your audience, is going to actually illustrate and help your audience follow what you're saying and therefore retain what you're saying. And that will lead to a much more successful presentation from you. If you need any other tips, please log on to www.presentpotential.ch or follow me on LinkedIn. Have a good day.